Let me ask you a question that is maybe going to seem strange. I'm asking this question for our viewers and listeners right now. You've had so much hate mail, so many messages that you cannot in good taste repeat now, right? People that have wished things on you, told you to do things, wished people to do things to you that have just been hating on you. You know you. I know you a little bit sitting here with you. LaFern, you know her.
I'm okay.
Bill, you know her. Is there any way that you, when you're sitting alone, can make sense out of the fact that you are such a hateful person that you deserve any of that kind of rhetoric, that kind of vitriol? What do you say to yourself about what's gone so wrong that someone like you would draw so much venom and hatred from people?
It's a deep question. Number one, I don't think people like successful people. And I don't want to consider myself successful, but 1 ounce of success and you start losing friends and you realize just how much people actually dislike it when you're closer to making it in the world. I think that's one piece of it. Just people don't like people doing well. They think it's easier to bring people down than to work up to their level or a higher level. I've lost friends and family who agree with me politically, don't hate me really for anything, but just don't want to be around watching me succeed in any way. I'd say that's number one. People don't like when people are successful. I think social media is the biggest problem, especially for young people. I think people forgot, A, how to have conversations. B, too many people think that their opinion matters. Like people ask me all the time, why don't you tweet? And I say, because it's irrelevant. Two sentences I can come up with to get a couple of likes is irrelevant. I don't want to go viral on Twitter. It doesn't mean anything. Social media is not a real place. I don't care. I'm honored when I'm asked to go on TV. I'm honored to sit here with you. And if people want to hear from me, they'll find me somehow. I don't think my opinion is worth that much that I should be out there tweeting or commenting. I don't think I've commented on anything on social media in my life. I've never put out a tweet. I've tweeted maybe 10 times total. I don't care. Too many people think that their opinion really matters. Too many people think that debating on social media really matters. Too many people think that owning someone, proving them wrong publicly really matters. Too many people think that hurting other people makes them better. I just think people stopped working on themselves and started tearing down others. And again, this is aside from politics. I know why I'm hated in politics, but that's a whole other conversation. But I just think people are broken. I really do. And I've been broken. Yeah, I've had really difficult few years and I did horrible things to myself and I had horrible thoughts and I get it. And I chose to tear down myself instead of others, but I still did stupid things. So I understand what it means to be broken. I just think our society encourages people to be at their lowest point instead of encouraging people to try to succeed, which is the only thing that makes people happy is they feel good about themselves.
Well, I couldn't agree with you more about that. I mean, 23% of adults use Twitter and 80% of the content is posted by 10% of the users.
Right.
So think about it. 23% of adults use it and 10% of that 23%.
Right.
So that's 2.3% put up 80% of the content.
Right.
That is a really small number of people putting up the vast amount of the content.
Right. And they're the loudest in the room, so everyone think that that's the majority of, but it's nothing.
Yeah.
It's a small group of broken people.
But yet they're the most shrill.
Yeah.
And, one of the things I say, and we've got issues, I talk about 10 things we have to embrace to be a healthy society. And one of them is you can't pay the most attention to the loudest voice.
Yeah.
You can't surrender to that. And when someone like you who has worked hard and achieved and had feelings and worked, so hard 10 hours a day skating 5 hours before you even get up and go somewhere. You've gone to the number one academic school in the country and then gone to another and worked hard and achieved. And you're the target of all this horrible vitriol just because of a political choice and the fact that you are a Jew, tells me that we have a lot of broken people in this country.
Yeah.
A lot of people that have just lost their way.
Right. And they're genuinely suffering, because if you look at some of these comments, you have to be not mean, you have to be genuinely broken deep down to waste the time to say something that cruel to a stranger. These are not mean people. These are actually broken people that need our help.
Yeah. Even if you're just like checking out at a grocery store and somebody's really rude, I always say, if you're getting anger for somebody, it's just an outward expression of hurt, fear, or frustration.
Yeah.
And if you look past the outward, instead of just saying, what a mean, angry, rude person, and ask yourself instead, what is the hurt in that person? What is the fear in that person? What's the frustration in that person? You see them in a completely different light. Instead of saying, boy, what an angry person, you say, boy, that person must really be in pain.
Yeah.
Because if you could unscrew the top of their head and look in, it'd probably scare you to death. They're either really in pain, or they're scared to death, or they're so frustrated that they can't get out of where they are. Then you see them a lot different. It doesn't make what they do any less hurtful,
right.
But at least you maybe understand and don't take it on so much, because how people treat you says so much more about them than it does about you.
Yeah.
We sometimes lose sight of that.
Definitely. And I remember I've had this discussion with my husband a lot. But like I always say, I was extremely privileged to have the family that I have. And anytime I went through something horrible, I didn't turn to drugs or whatever horrible things or being rude to other people, because I got to cry on my mom's shoulder, or lay on my dad and cry, whatever it was, or my brother was always like, I always had that. And so for me, I will never understand what it means to not have that. So my lived experience allowed me to be okay, but someone else's might not. And though they hurt me in profound ways, very often their life might be one that I just will never understand, and their experience might be something I'll never understand. And with that, I just wish things were better in our country and things were easier for people so they didn't have to turn to that, because I didn't have to turn to a lot of horrible things in my life, because truly I was just so lucky with the parents that I got and the upbringing that I got. But people certainly have had it. I've suffered in my own way. So people have had it much harder than me. And I understand that. And I wish more people understood that a lot of people just have it really hard, at least at that point in their lives, and need some help.
Yeah, I think this kind of conversation is really important, because if there are people out there right now that, to wade into politics for a minute, if there are people out there that are confused because the Republican side are spinning all their messages out, and the Democrat, they're spinning all their messages out, I think this is a valuable conversation, because it gives people the opportunity. I mean, for God's sakes, you're the spokesperson for the Republican National Committee.
Yeah.
It gives somebody an opportunity to say, who is this woman?
Right. I just teared up talking about figure skating. Like, I am human.
Yeah, you're a human being. I think if people stop and think, well, wait a minute, is this some evil witch that doesn't care about people? Or is this somebody that has the same thoughts, feelings, fears, needs, wants, desires that I do? It's like when I teach negotiation sometimes. I do it with law enforcement and all kinds of groups. And I always say, if we're going to negotiate something, the first thing I always like to do is say, let's start with making a list of everything we agree on. We can talk about all the things we disagree on in a minute, but before we do, let's talk about everything we agree on. I think if people would do that, if the two sides would sit down and say, let's talk about the things we want, that we can agree that we want in this country. I think the differences would be there, but I really believe they would be a lot less than people might think.
Yeah, 100%.
And I think even when you got down to the differences might be in methodology, how we go about getting them, even as much as wanting different things. Everybody wants a healthy country. Everybody wants safety. Everybody wants affordability.
Yeah.
Everybody wants security. Everybody wants a good environment. Everybody wants clean water. Can you think of something that everybody doesn't want? Everybody wants the same things. It's just that now we're talking about how do we get them? There might be some differences there, but I think even there, it's just a matter of methodology, and then you get down to just what are the facts. Does this work or does that work? Let's do what works. Let's agree on what we want and take the best approach for now.
Right.
And I really think people have gotten to the point where, like you said, it's just, if there's a label, I have to hate you.
Right.
And that's just not true. I got grandkids. I want them to grow up with green grass and clean water and a healthy economy and feeling safe and secure. Doesn't everybody want that?
Right. And I assume that matters to you a lot more than how they vote.
I could care less. What I care about is that 10 years from now, 20 years from now, when they have children, that they have a park to play in, they have money to buy food, they have food to buy, they have, an ocean to go sail in, whatever. Yeah. I want the same things I think everybody else wants.
Yeah, and I was young, so I don't totally remember it, but I think that's what life was before Donald Trump ran and the world turned upside down. I remember my parents, they had debates with their friends all the time, and it was like, we vote this way and they vote this way, but we both want the best for you. We just think that this path is better or that path. And I don't know why Donald Trump made people as angry as he did, but that's when the rhetoric went up. That's when the hate speech went up. That's when they went after not just the candidate, but his supporters, which I think is very dirty and un-American. And I don't know the way back. That's the problem.
I think one of the most significant days in this country's history was 9/12 of 2001.
Yeah.
Because on the morning after 9/11, we were all Americans.
Yeah.
There weren't any political parties. We were just all Americans. And I hate that it took something like that to remind us that we're all in this together.
Right.
And I hope it doesn't take something like that to remind us again that we're all in this together.
Yeah.
I hope we can just decide.
I fear something like that will happen and we still won't realize we're together. I thought during COVID people would realize. I thought after Donald Trump nearly lost his life, people would think about it and realize. I thought October 7th, like we talked about. I don't know. It feels almost like it's just too far gone for people to realize everyone here is a human that wants the best for their family. Donald Trump is not Hitler. He's just a guy you disagree with politically. Kamala Harris might be a woman you disagree with politically, and her supporters are just people you disagree with. That's it. And I hope to God, no matter who wins, it goes back to normal. And I hope people give the president a chance, whoever it is. I do think it's going to be Donald Trump, and I'm scared of the response, but I hope they give him a chance, and his supporters and his staff, and we close this chapter because it is unnecessary.
Whoever wins this election will be my president.
Right.
And I will support whoever wins this election. They will be my president, and I will give them my support, and I will be behind them 100%.
Yeah, as we should.
As we should. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you for having me.
I appreciate it. It was a great conversation, and I certainly think everybody will enjoy it and
I hope so.
Listen to it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I appreciate it.